I think I might have the cramps. Clamps, you see. Well, I've been busy clamping this wood up, and now it's dry, ready to be unclamped. But once it's unclamped, how do you true up your wood so it's straight? Well, that's what we're going to do in this video. And we're going to do the short length, which is just there. So we are going to unclamp, declamp, remove the clamps, remove the kraken, remove the clamps. That's what we're going to do here. Then we're going to true this up into a usable piece of wood. Now, I know what you're going to say. Why did you clamp it together? Why didn't you just get a bigger bit of wood? Well, I could have done that. Unfortunately, and for the longer pieces, it was a case of I couldn't find much that was really of this, how to put it, straight. Yes, it was all bendy. And I'd have to buy it so flippin' big. Anyway, so loads of money, plus there's no guarantee it's going to stay stable. This way, in my experience, I found it does stay pretty straight. So what we're going to do is just take the clamps off. These are just 6-inch G clamps. And yes, I haven't used any protection or anything like that. It's like I've got 6 keys. No. Yeah, okay, we know what I mean. On the shoes of the clamps. So there will be a load of dimples, a load of dents in the wood. I'm not worried about that at this stage because I'm going to be planing it. It's not going to be remain at this thickness. Currently, it's about 52 millimeters, 52 to 54 millimeters thick. And I've used Cascamite powdered resin wood glue, which is, well, I find it was brilliant stuff, you know. Didn't used to be, all right, what I mean by that, during the pandemic, Polyvine, who used to have the brand, changed the formula. Fortunately, another company's taken over, Eureka Glues, the name that sticks, and they've basically formulated how it used to be, which is great. I'm very pleased at that. So we have 2 pieces of wood, all dimply and dented and that. I'm not worried about that, all right? That doesn't matter for this job. And these were pieces of tongue and groove board, which is basically what we use here for making shutters. Volet lamb, all right? So you see that? All right, it's 2 different sizes here, but I don't mind, because I'm just going to rip these down into the width I want, and I'll get rid of all these tongues and grooves and what have you anyway. But we must have one true face. Now, what I tend to do is I always start, if there's a bit of a curve in it, which there is, which you can check with a straight edge or a rule or whatever. A straight edge would be better. What's a straight edge? There's one over here. Do. This is when I'm not prepared, isn't it? And you can just see if there's any hollow. I want the hollow to be, if there's going to be a hollow, I want it in the middle, and that's the side I'm going to true up. I'm not going to true up the high, because there's a little bit of a rock in there. Yeah, only a little bit, tiny amount of rock actually, but there's a bit of rock in it. Now, the reason why I'm doing this side first is because I just want to. Is it rocket science? Not really. Now, the reason I'm doing it is because it makes it easier to do that side. And I won't remove meat of the material in the middle here. And when I feed it into the planer, it will feed in easier. Because when I put it into the thicknesser, the ends will be more tapered than the middle. So when I push it through the thicknesser, I won't have like thick ends and thin middle, so then it stops pushing. Whereas this way is more progressive, going through the actual thicknesser. Now, let's place you a bit further away so you can actually see what I'm about to do. So I'm going to true one face up first, right, and then we can actually take off all the tongues and stuff. And I'm going to use a number 7 jointer plane for that. And here it is, all right. I've also got to make sure there's no twists in it. So some winders would help as well, but I'm not going to use them because I can do it by eye quite easily. Basically, I'll show you what a winder is in a minute, what I mean by that. Right, hopefully I don't need to edit this video, but we'll see. So what we're going to do is we're going to true this up, and at the moment I know there's a hollow in the middle and tie on the ends. So what I'm going to do is take a bit more, oh hang on, let's change it a little bit. There's more coming off the left side, so there's too much skew on the plane, so I just corrected that. Now, if you had a jointer, electric jointer, you could do it on the jointer. I still don't think it's as good than a hand plane. Hand plane takes a lot of beating though. Let's get it away. once I took the worst of it off, the ends, and I lose the hollow in the middle. Once I lost hollow in the middle, not quite there yet, nearly there. Got to have one flat face. It's imperative, right? You've got to have something to work off. What happens otherwise? Yeah, because these are going to be ledges, you see, on a door. And if you don't have it not straight and perfectly true, what will happen is the door won't be true, will it? Now I find when you laminate these up, they're far more stable. And if you've got a large door, this is one of the short ledges for the door, which has a pedestrian door in it. But when you've got a large door, if you get any movement in these ledges, you're going to have a closer that doesn't close equally down the middle. I'll do whole length now, I reckon. Still a bit high here. Not there, but there. You can't trust the wood as it comes. You just can't. Even if you had it machined, or you bought it off the shelf and it's supposed to be straight, maybe it was when it was machined, by the time you get it, it might not be. Yeah, that's good. So now there's no rock in that, no. And there's no hollow down the middle. So what we're going to do now is you need to square this face with this face. So that's our next job there. Oh, so the missus. Hello, missus. Oh, you're bringing me wood, are you? What, for the wood burner? You're a good little helper, you. She's like my workshop farrier. What, my darling?
Just the 3 pallets on the roof. I don't know.
Okay, I'll get them off in a minute. She can't reach. You could. Can we get you some steps?
Hey?
Shall I get you some steps?
No, I don't want to scratch your car.
Ah, good point. Not yet, though. We will in a minute. So now what I've got to do is basically, I need at least one good face here. So if it's 90 degrees from there to this, that's perpendicular. Or that side, only one side or the other. But I'll probably do this one. And then I can then, if I'm happy that's been straight, I'm not going to rely on a saw. I'm actually going to bring it back to the bench and then we'll run the plane over that after I cut this off. And then run it through the saw again to remove that side. So let's take you to the saw. To the saw we go. There we go. Bring that blade down to the acceptable height so I don't chop my fingers off. Because that's not a great idea. No, we don't want to chop my fingers off. You might want to say that, but I don't want to do it. No. Right, now we know that's the face that we just trued, that's straight. So that's the one we've got to work off. So that's our reference face. That's got to go down to the table, like so. And I'll bring that over. Right, let's put it right. Tight, don't move. Make sure you've got a push stick of one description or another. And another one there as well. So make sure I keep it to the fence then, you see. So now I'm going to plane this to make sure that's perpendicular to that face. That face, same as that face. Back to the bench we go. And into the vise. Just check the direction of the grain. In fact, the grain's coming in both directions, so look, grain direction isn't going to make a huge amount of difference here. That should already be square. Should be. So I could literally just run that straight through the saw again to do the opposite face if I want to. But, you know, but being I can, I will. Now the blade here, the plain iron, is wider than the actual board itself, so I might as well just try and hold it true from end to end. It's raining now. I think the missus, that was good timing. She just unloaded the car, you see. I wouldn't. We can't often get the old pallet wood and stuff like that, you see, for the rewilding project. Right, we'll take more off there, but I'll do that with the thicknesser. But now I've got two faces here. This face and that face are good to each other. I'm not worried about all these dimples on the back there. You know, if I was, I could steam them out. I'm not worried because it's going to run through the thicknesser anyway. So I've got that face is true, that face is true. So now, if I want, I can run this through the thicknesser on that side. But equally, I can now trim these grooves off. That's what we do. Back to the saw. There we go. Do 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 do. That's about right. That's good. So I haven't removed all of it, but that'll be done in the thicknesser as I pass through the thicknesser. So these two faces here should be parallel, and this face here should be perpendicular with that face and that face. Now these rails don't actually fix to anything apart from the boards. So if there was a slight run out or whatever, it don't really matter, to be honest. It doesn't matter at all, because you know, if I was having to be jointed to something else, it'd be very, very important, wouldn't it? But being it's kind of like fixed to a load of boards, if that is running out a little bit, it doesn't really matter, as long as it's straight. What I mean running out, like for instance, if there's a taper in there, whatever, it isn't that critical. So, when you're passing the wood through the saw, right, and using a push stick like this one here, right, what I do is I use my hands until the push stick, this one here, right, is actually sitting over the top of the bench, over the top of the table saw. Now the reason for that is if I was pushing here, try to push forward too soon, what happens, I could lift the wood up by accident. And I'd obviously don't want to put my hands down there, anywhere near there. You could put a bit of pressure with a push stick if you want, or a pad. As long as your hands are away from the actual blade, you'd be fine. But I tend to wait until I'm about halfway over, and then I start pushing with using the push stick and applying a bit downward pressure and towards the fence at the same time. Yeah, and then I'd grab the push stick like you saw, and I'm not using the hook on the push stick, I'm just using the little brass screw in the end, and I basically push that into the wood a little bit, so it's grips with timber, and then push that to the fence, hold it to the fence, because the fence is parallel with the saw blade. The other thing is, which is a bit, there's a lot of opinions on this regarding the height of the saw blade. How much of the blade should be poking out above the actual wood? Now, I'm not that bothered. When doing pine, it's not so bad, but if you're doing cherry or anything like that, you can get a lot of burn. So, if I'm cutting cherry, for instance, I would actually have that blade a little bit higher. So the gullet is higher than the wood. Now, yes, it could anything that's protruding could hurt you, but it's not enough protruding to cut your finger off. You just get a nasty cut or nick in your finger, which obviously you shouldn't be putting your hands anywhere near the blade anyway. You know, that's got to be the best idea. Just keep your hands well away from it. The problem is, you see, when you do cherry, you've got the blade all the way down here and you've got hardly anything protruding through, what happens with cherry is, and oak in some cases, when you slow up passing your wood through the saw, if for instance that has more time than it needs in the slot in the saw kerf, it will basically burn a nasty circular mark on the side of you know, and actually create a dent exactly where the actual teeth are from the actual blade. So if you see what I'm saying there, that shape of that blade will be imprinted and gouged into the side of your piece of wood, which you don't really want, do you? So what I tend to have, generally, I try and keep the gullet above the actual wood, but not so far up it can cause you a nasty accident. If, you know, you see some people with their saw, they've got the saw blade all the way up all the time. Well, not be funny, that's enough to cause quite a bit of injury, isn't it? You know, that easily cut through your fingers if you're not paying attention. Ouch, ow, ow, ow. See what I mean? Yeah? So you don't want to do that. So now, it's a case of running this through the thicknesser. And my thicknesser needs hang on, is it in the way? Oh, crikey, I've got wood in the way here. This is not an oak feed table, no. So I'll have to move this over a bit. I've got a clamp there in the way. So these has set. Well, that one there's in the way as well. Blimey. All right, there you go. All right, I'll do it, that'll work now. I think so. All right, so now we're going to pass it through the thicknesser. If you haven't got a thicknesser, you're going to need to do it by hand using a hand plane, such as what we used to start with. It will take you more time, but don't mean to say you can't get it done. The other thing you could use, instead of using a hand plane, you could use one of these. If you've got one, that is. You know, this was a surf over and under, it's a surfacer plane really. It's not a jointer. Jointers have much longer tables, and quite often not actually that wide. You know, most people get away with a 6-inch wide jointer. Whereas this is a 10-inch, and that one there's sorry, this is a 12-inch, and that's this thickness is 12-inch. My jointer over and under is a 10-inch. Quite stereotypical. I found a hat. My bonnet. Plonk that over there. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to run this through the plane on each face. We know which face is our reference face. Don't need that on there. And also, we want a piece. Some wax. I need my wax. Oh, yeah. I've got to do my bikini line. That I have. All right. This is literally just candle wax. It's paraffin wax, basically. Now, this one has been bought as a block, and just for preserves and what have you. When you do your jams and stuff, you melt a bit of wax on the top. But I always wax my inlet and my outlet. Obviously, if you're going to be gluing up afterwards, you want to remove that wax off your wood, because obviously you get a certain residue on your wood, and your glues are not going to stick so well. So let's get that down. Is that a condom? Ooh, a used one. All right, no, it's down. Sort me, it's rubber glove. Right, there we come. About right. Oh, my light's flickered. Reference face down to the table. Barely touching it. No, not touching it at all. So I need to bring the table up a bit against the cutter block. That's the first pass. Made contact here, not at this end so much. So I'm going to another half turn. So listen. Make contact all the way along. Check whether or not you've got any snipe in the end, which I haven't, because it's set up correctly. But what I have got, I've got some tram lines in my knives. So that'll probably be another video, actually sharpen my knives. Now I've got that face done, and I've flipped it over. This was the hand plane face. These two faces now are perpendicular. I don't know if you could hear, but it was making contact all the way along the wood. Now, what I normally would do, I'm not doing this video, I normally have the sander there, but if I've got any tram lines like that, I'll just whip them off with the air sander. Just take seconds, just to take those highs off, because obviously they can influence what happens on the opposite face. But I'm not too worried about that at the moment. I'm not worried about these. See, these ones have these dimples here where the clamps were. I'm not worried. As long as I've got one good face, that one could be where the boards are stuck onto. So as long as you're thinking, hey, if it's furniture, obviously you had to put some protection behind the clamps, you know, but I didn't, because it wasn't a worry. Now, we know that that's true with that face and that face. Let's double check. For which it is. It should also be true with this face, which it is. So now, if I want, I'm actually going to take more off here, actually, but for the purpose of video, what we'll do now is true that face up, so make sure that face is parallel with that face used in the planer. Bring that down. And this is why it's a good idea to actually run the hand plane over this and make sure that's true from end to end. Because I noticed on this saw cut face here, run it through the table saw, it's touching on the end portions, but not in the middle. So that tells me that saw, through my probably poor performance, ask the missus, I haven't cut this side perfectly parallel with this side for some reason. So what I've got to do is I've got to, well, take it off the side. And again. So nearly removed the grooves, it's nearly there. That's pretty much there. There's one more pass on this face. So that face is good. So do that face. Right, so what I've done is I've basically trued this piece of wood up, used a hand plane and the thickness and a table saw. Obviously, if you haven't got those machines, it's going to be a little bit hard, a bit more time consuming. But you know, this is my work. This is what, you know, how I earn my money. But you see, the thing is, you see, I haven't actually finished working on this piece of wood yet, because I've got all the other, all that lot over there to do as yet. Yeah, so they've all got to be trued up, and they're going to be a bit harder because, you know, they're longer. You see, so if there's any deviations in the timber, it's going to be more exaggerated in those longer lengths, about 1.5 meters long, so not that long, than they are in this piece here, which is about 800 or 900 mil long. Now the thing is, you see, I will run that through the planer again when I've got the wood sorted out for one door or both doors, and then I'll do it all together, so they'll all go through the planer yet again. So I don't want to finish this piece just yet, so it's 100% the same, so everything's the same size. I just want to demonstrate from being clamped up as two pieces of wood together, how we go about actually truing it up into a length of wood that is usable, if you know what I mean, and it's straight. Double check that before I show you. Yes, it is. Because that'd be embarrassing if it was bent like a banana. Anyway, that's how I true up a bit of wood. You know, however you do yours is up to you, but that's how I do mine after laminating two pieces of wood together. But the process is pretty much the same. If it's a solid piece of wood, you know, it's come as, you know, 2 by, in this case, about 2 by 3. Well, 3.5, yeah, but 2 by 3.5. So it's about 80 mil wide, that is actually. 85 mil wide by, it's finished off about 48, yeah. So there you go. Anyway, it's time for me to go, but please click the old like button and maybe subscribe to the channel, and then you will get a warm fuzzy feeling in your pocket. Yeah, don't forget the little bell icon every time I upload another video. Yeah, I hope so. Toodaloo.